Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me.
Hi, this is Jan Lewis. Welcome to be my guest. We have an author on today who I had met at the Rhode Island Authors Expo. Keith Carreiro. Keith, when was that expo?
It was in December.
Okay, December 2018. And let me tell you, that place was packed. There were 140 authors.
I would say at least that.
I could not possibly connect with every single one. But if you could check out the sign that Keith brought with us, I mean, you cannot miss this. That's one of the reasons we were drawn to his table. It is huge. I don't think I've seen one that, even with corporations, that big.
Yeah, I have an artist, visual artist, that did the covers.
Yeah.
And she said, you know, we have such things as, you can get things like retractable banners.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, what do they look like? And so she showed me a sample, and I said, wow, that looks really cool.
Yeah, very
but
good.
The design wasn't on there, and when I first got it, and I opened it up, and I looked at it, I said, that's my idea. That's my book.
Yeah.
That's, you know.
Well, you're self-published, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I always say that, I think, just my humble opinion, that's the way to go, because you don't have to wait a year or two to be turned down by major. And also, you get to pick your own cover. These are the two books so far, because I know you're working on a third, right? All right, this is sci-fi fantasy, and Keith writes part one, The Penitent, okay, and part two, The Penitent. Now, Keith, give people an idea what this is all about.
Okay, so the characters in the story and the readers themselves believe that they are in a setting that's medieval, Middle Ages, and there's a sort of English smack to it. You think you're in Britain, but you're not. And there's hints in the story that you're not where you think you are. And what happens is that the characters are actually in what's known as a hyper-reality. The Matrix does something similar to that. They talk about a simulacrum. And so you're actually in the 26th century in a scientific experiment.
What made you think about this? Well, this is different.
Very odd. Yeah, this is very odd how I came about it. So me being a 21st century person filled with hubris over our technology, I said, wouldn't it be interesting if we got George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, and we were able to transport them to New York City, downtown, or Beijing, or Shanghai, or London, or Paris. And it would be really interesting to see what would happen and how they would react to this, because their world was a world of fire and horses.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and here it is with how many centuries later.
Right. And so I sort of felt a pride to look what I just did to these guys, you know?
Right.
And then I said, suppose, okay, smart boy, suppose somebody did that to you.
Yeah.
Okay,
How would you feel?
and
right?
threw you 500 years into the future. What would you see? What would you feel?
Hopefully we'll be here.
Right. Right. And that's also an interesting statement, because you have to build worlds for this.
Yeah.
So how do you look at 500 years from now?
Yeah, I mean, how did you get your mind around that?
I don't know. I've been reading. I've read a lot of science fiction, fantasy, and where a lot of authors will create a dystopia. Usually, not a utopia, a dystopia, where there's wars, there's disease, there's disaster. But with me, I've said, okay, that has happened, but now there's I don't know how this goes on. This is just my mind. Now there's only 12 power bases in the galaxy. Yeah. So we're in the Milky Way galaxy. We're in a remote neighborhood of the galaxy. So humanity has been able to, with machines that are now greater than the capacity of humans, natural humans, the humans had to get it enhanced. So there's 12 power bases left that are remnants of what we see today. And they're all capable, with the money they have, the muscle they have, and the mind they have. This is from Alvin Toffler. He talks about the 3 M's: mind, money, and muscle. but that the mind is the most critical with advanced civilizations. So they're capable of living a long, long time,
Yeah.
but they're not immortal. So the desire in humanity for the ages has been to attain immortality.
Is that why you call it the Immortality Wars?
Correct.
It's going to continue that theme, right?
Right. There's a 9-book planned series.
9?
Yeah. So 3 trilogies.
This happened quickly. How long? You were just at the expo and you're new. I mean, how long did it take you to write
Well, I
this?
haven't written 9. I've written the first trilogy.
Yeah.
The second trilogy. First trilogy is The Penitent.
Yeah, that's part 1.
Yeah. Part 2.
Second one is part 2, Penitent. Same thing, right?
And then it's going to be part 3. That's going to be published hopefully May, June.
That's coming up quick.
Yeah. And so the second trilogy is called The Pilgrim.
The Pilgrim.
Yeah, because in that book, in that story, especially the second one, Paul, one of the main characters, the little children call him the Pilgrim. So he
Were
really.
you always so, excellent at sci-fi things, thinking like that?
I don't know. I just have a crazy imagination.
Even as a kid?
Yeah.
Did you start
I
writing?
was writing stories
I
back
had a
then.
feeling. With like making comic book, what's that thing that kids are doing now with picture books? Grown kids, like a lot of the teenagers are reading the, what is it?
Graphic comics. Yeah.
Graphic comics?
Yeah, that's quite an art, as a matter of fact.
I don't know. Maybe I'm backwards, but I'd rather read about it than
Right.
just see. I don't know. I never got into comics. You're not going that way, are you?
No.
Okay.
Although you could with this.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
You
You
really
could have a video game with this as well. The way this is written, I tried to make my mind the mind of a cinematographer. So what I see unfolding in front of me in my mind, I try to put on the pages,
It's very detailed.
and that's my attempt.
Yeah.
But the attempt also is not to drown in the details,
Right.
but to have the dialogue move it, and the action to move it at all as well. I'm hoping that when people read it, they want, well, now what happens? You
Well,
know?
we couldn't miss your site. 140 authors crammed into this building in Rhode Island. I'd never been there. Neither did my husband. I'm like, holy smokes. I mean, the one in July of a Danversport is big, okay. But for some reason, this felt twice as big.
Right.
And they were, right,
Well,
just like
this is at the roads of on the Patuxent,
Yeah.
too.
And you had your, no wonder we bumped into him. I always tell authors, I say, make sure you don't just sit there like this with nothing to attract people's attention. And you nailed it right on.
Yeah.
We saw that coming up. How can they get your book, Keith? Let them know.
You can get my books by just going on my website, www.immortalitywars.com, and there's on the main page you can scroll down and order that way, or you can go on Amazon.com and there A Keith Carreiro, Carreiro, and you're off and running.
This is on, he sent me, I kept your propaganda here.
Oh, good.
I love it. A baby, this is what these stories are, the first one's based on. A baby is born and placed in his dead mother's arms. When the funeral shroud is cast over her, his father decides to name his son Paul, P-A-L-L, like a Paul, okay. It will soon become a name that strikes a shiver into the hearts of those who hear it in combat. So he's a lone survivor. What does your family think of this?
Some of them say, where in tarnation do you get this stuff? That's putting it mildly. And I say, well, I don't know. I guess it's just imagination. I fell in love with storytelling at a very young age, and I was surrounded by storytellers in my family.
Me too.
And,
My mother read
and that
too.
had a huge impact.
Yeah.
I had a grandmother from the Azores who sung Desafio. And Desafio is a certain kind of singing that's related to called fado. Fado is kind of like a blues, jazz type of thing. But the Desafio is an insult improvisational singing.
Yeah.
And
Is that Portuguese?
it's Portuguese.
Okay.
This is primarily Azorean now, from the
Azorean,
Azores.
yeah.
And people would come from miles to hear her. We would have singers. The cantadores come in, and people would flock into it was a farmhouse in Swansea, Massachusetts.
Did you grow up there in Swansea?
Yeah.
And now you're in Rhode Island, at Swansea, Rhode Island.
No,
right?
it's Mass. Right, it's right next to Warren, Rhode
He
Island.
came in and he told me he was a refugee from Massachusetts. So, okay, you grew up in Swansea, Mass.
Yeah.
Then where did you go in Rhode Island?
Well, it was a sanctuary city. No, I'm teasing.
Oh, don't go there.
No, it's just that it's interesting because I connected with ARIA, Association of Rhode Island Authors.
Yeah, right.
And I found that it's a remarkable organization. It's very active.
We've had Steve Porter on and many of the authors.
Very
from there.
vibrant.
Yep.
And I belong to some others, but this particular organization, for me, it just clicked.
Yeah.
And so, but everybody's in Rhode Island for the most part.
So you were in Rhode Island, so you moved to Rhode Island for a while.
No, I just stayed in
You stayed in
Massachusetts.
Swansea.
Yeah. I'm in the house I grew up in.
You're still in the same house.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was a big odyssey where I went all around and eventually
where have you
came
been, Keith? Where have you been appearing? Besides being on here and at the expo, where have you been appearing to get the word out about your book?
I've been at different book fairs, book conferences. I was at the Rhode Island Comic Con.
I've heard. What is that?
Oh, it's amazing. It's a cyclone of sci-fi, fantasy people. I think it's the largest event in Rhode Island.
When is it held?
It's usually held in mid-November,
Okay.
and they have people from all over the United States coming in, very famous people that you can take photographs with,
Yeah.
like Kiefer Sutherland, people from different fantasy series and sci-fi series, movies. But then you have a lot of artists. There's something called Artist Row.
Yeah.
There's hundreds of people there, and thousands of people come in for. It's a 3-day event.
And it's in what part of Rhode Island?
It's in Providence
Well, I know
at the
Providence.
convention center.
At the convention center.
Yeah.
Now, have you been in it yourself yet?
Just last year.
Just last November.
Yeah, and the guys were giving me a bad time because I have wanderlust. I have ADHD. I
Okay.
can't sit still. And with all of that was around me, I had to go sample it.
Yeah.
So I got to meet Kiefer Sutherland,
Yeah.
and I got to meet a bunch of other people, and I was really amazed at how wonderful they were. And me being 2 years old at this, I have these nice business cards.
Oh yes.
And
Yeah.
you'd think that I would say to Kiefer Sutherland, "Hey, here's one of mine," and it'd be nice to interview you. No, I was starstruck. So I just, I shook his hand. He talked with me, stuff like that. There was some artists there, amazing artists. There was one particular artist, Steve Nigerian, that his artwork blew me away, and I contacted him maybe for the next 3 covers.
Really?
It's just he works in oils. It's phenomenal.
Who did the?
Hollis Mahala,
Mm-hmm.
and she's in Rehoboth, Mass, and she does watercolors. And I asked her if she could do something in the realm of Maxfield Parrish.
Well, you can't miss this. This is beautiful. We're talking with Keith Carreiro, and he is the author of The Penitent Part 1, The Penitent Part 2. This is sci-fi. It's a little bit out of my league, but my husband's an avid sci-fi reader. And I think when he met you at the expo, you guys were...
Yes, we had a wonderful conversation.
I said,
Yeah.
well, we definitely got to get you on the show.
He's angry at me, though,
Why? Oh, why?
because he didn't. I don't think he realized that this is a 9-book planned series.
Ha ha. He's going to have to... That's okay, though. If you like sci-fi, right?
Yeah, he told me he read them all the way through, and I asked, "Did you like it?" He said, "Well, if I didn't like it, I wouldn't have read all the way through it."
And now you've got... Let me tell you, how can people get a hold of you, Keith? How can they get a hold of your book?
As I said before, you can go on Amazon.com and you can type in my name, query under books, A. Keith Carreiro, Carreiro, or you can go on my website, www.immortalitywars.com, and you can get it that way too.
Now,
I keep a blog on that site.
You
by
keep
the
a
way.
blog on there.
And I write about
Okay.
storytelling and inspiration.
You told me you weren't very techie savvy, but you sound like you are.
No, I'm not. I'm learning. I'm just a toddler with this. So
I'm below toddler.
I go to people it's amazing the genius that's around us.
Like
And-
my son, a millennial.
Yeah,
He
see?
laughs. He thinks,
Right.
well, you can't do that.
Right.
But they can. They're
Yes.
born with it.
Yeah, there's something latent in them that.
Well, at kindergarten, you get a computer. They had computers in the kindergarten class. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I thought maybe high school. Well, I'm like, oh
No,
my God.
no, they're pushing that envelope.
I don't know how I would have done.
very
I guess
beginning.
they fit together with this.
They've even moved the learning guide stones for like I think kindergarten. They have to count up to 100. They have to be able to write now.
In kindergarten?
Yeah, Massachusetts.
I learned to read in first grade.
I know, so did I.
Second grade, I learned to write.
Yep, that's all
That was it.
accelerated.
So you're born and raised in Swansea. Now you haven't been an author all. I mean, you haven't done this. You had another job too, right?
No, yeah, I'm an adjunct professor at Bristol Community College and Bridgewater State University.
Bridgewater. I used to live across from Bridgewater, the
Really?
college over there
Yeah.
in Waterford Village.
Oh yeah.
I lived with my mom and dad over there, and I remember we'd always drive by the college on our way out, somewhere. That's a nice area. What are you teaching over there?
Well, anything they let me.
Okay.
I'm in the English department.
English, yeah. Well, no kidding, right?
And I'm teaching sometimes short stories, sometimes nonfiction journalism, but mostly composition. And they let me create, it's called freshman and sophomore seminars, where I can create my own course. So normally when I do that, I combine literature and movies together. But I've got one going on conspiracy theories in the movies and literature.
Have you thought of giving workshops at libraries, things like that?
I'm telling you, I'm just new at this.
You're
but
so open to it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got an appearance at the Ames Free Library in Easton in May.
In Maine?
May.
May. I was
Yeah.
going to say Maine.
No, Easton, Mass.
Okay, got to get you out of Rhode Island. Well, you're in Massachusetts, but we can bring you out more into Central Mass and West Metro West. Oh yeah, definitely. How far would you travel to?
Well, if you give me food and pay for gas, maybe I'll go anywhere.
Long ago, when we first started Be My Guest, Glenn may remember this. We had a gentleman on who called me from Natick, and he said, "Do you have overnight accommodations?" I'm thinking, you're coming from Natick. We have people come from, like, New York.
Wow.
And the poor man, we were temporarily over at the EMT fire headquarters building. And unfortunately that day, they had the foam. They were foaming down, cleaning their trucks. And this gentleman pulled in just at the wrong time to go park for the
no.
show, and they wailed him. We kidded about it. At least he had a clean car when he left. But
That's funny.
overnight accommodations. At first, I didn't know whether to take him seriously. I said, "Well, we have the Grafton Inn. It's about maybe 8 minutes from here." But I think he realized how close Natick was.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to get here from Swansea?
45 minutes.
That's not bad. And then you said I always warn people that GPS you'll end up. Did they send you right to Milford instead of here?
No.
Okay, but it got you in some other
I
places.
came through the back road over there.
Menden Street, maybe Menden.
Starts with an L. I can't remember.
I don't remember that either. But so, have you got anything coming up where you're going to be besides you're going to be?
Yeah, I've got some stuff in Rhode Island at Public Library.
At the main library in Providence?
No, it's I think it's in Warwick.
In Warwick. I know Warwick. I've got some relatives over there in Warwick. The Penitent Part 1, The Penitent Part 2, Sci-Fi Fantasy, Keith Carreiro, and the third one, same title?
Yeah, Penitent Part 3.
Penitent Part 3. Okay, well, we've got a... Oh, boy. Paul's going to be reading this, too.
It's very militaristic.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of action in there. People say, well, what kind of readers do you have?
Yeah.
I said, well, it's adult readers, but young readers, if they're mature readers, can read this. There's no graphic sex or anything like that, but there is violence in it.
Yeah. I would say teenagers, young adults, and up, right?
Correct.
Yeah, if you love sci-fi this time, you're going to love this. You're going to have two of both books downstairs in the Upton Library, the dedicated author's wall or whatever. So you come on down there, take a look at it, pass it around. It's another good way to get the word out. It really, really is. Now, you are teaching in college. What college did you go to?
I went to the University of Maine, Orono.
In Maine.
Yeah, that's where I met Stephen King. And
Oh, he's something else.
Yeah.
I don't call him sci-fi though.
no, but he does horror and paranormal.
Yeah.
This definitely has aspects of. I say this is Stephen King meets Tolkien.
Tolkien, yeah. He wrote, what was it, the Lord of...
Tolkien wrote The Lord of the Rings.
The Lord of the
Hobbit.
Rings. The Hobbit.
Yeah.
Were you ever into Harry Potter?
No, but very much into C.S. Lewis and Tolkien.
You like those too?
I love they're my heroes.
Those are your all-time favorites.
Yeah, those are some of them. This is kind of a Christian-themed adventure,
Right.
if I can say that, or a thriller.
Oh, sure.
Now, I was very much, when I was a youngster, I was very much enthralled by Ben-Hur, The Robe, The Ten Commandments.
You liked all that.
Yeah,
You are a concert classical guitarist. Was?
Yeah.
What did you do? Throw away the guitar? What happened?
No, I have something like Parkinson's.
You do?
Yeah, I have an essential tremor,
Okay.
and that affects your fine motor coordination. So I had to scale all of that back.
We had a person on recently who was, they taught the Parkinson's Association, and some of the things they're doing now are fantastic. With our with the medical world the way it is now, they have ukulele players. They're keeping active like this.
Right.
That's easier. I know. I took guitar. That's easier than the guitar.
Yeah,
You
no,
just strum to.
Yeah, no, I was a classical guitarist. That's different.
Classical.
Yeah.
Did you study that in college too? Minor in it?
No, I started when I was 4.
With the real thing?
Yeah, what happened was I was in my parents' basement, where I live now,
Yeah.
and my mother was self-taught on the piano, and the piano was in the basement. So I was playing around in there, and they built these big, huge cabinets. And I remember crawling into one of those cabinets and seeing something interesting. It was a guitar, but I didn't know what it
Right.
was. So I dragged it out, and I remember to this day that the sunlight was streaming from the window from this direction, and I put the guitar on against the cabinet, and I remember my hand going out and reaching and playing with my index finger the 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st strings, and it was way out of tune, but I didn't know, and the music did something to me.
And that was
I was
it?
like transformed, and I said, I've got to learn more about this. So they found me a teacher in Fall River, Joseph Raposo.
And you have toured throughout North and South America in the 70s.
Right.
Yeah, but you must have been very, very young back then.
I was in my 20s.
That's a long time. I mean, in the 70s, only in your 20s, going all over to Africa and all over
No,
America?
I didn't go there. Just South America and
South
North
America.
America.
You have a master's and a doctoral degree from Harvard Graduate School of Education.
Right.
You currently teach, as he has mentioned, he's an adjunct professor of English at Bridgewater State University. Remember when they used to be called state colleges?
Yes.
When I went to Plymouth State, up in New Hampshire, Plymouth State College, PSC.
Yeah.
Now it's Plymouth State
Do
University.
you know why?
I have an idea, but why?
When you upgrade to a university status, it gives you more room to build programs. So you can have not only master's degree programs, but doctoral degrees.
Okay, so when I went to Plymouth, most people were just majoring in something. And they 4 years, and that was it. I don't think there was a continuation.
They can go more into research too.
Well, that's
Where
interesting.
Bridgewater used to be known as a state teachers college.
Yeah,
Then it became a state college.
right.
But that kind of restricts the industry,
Yeah.
shall we say?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because by the time I got there, they were having classes on philosophy, I think psychology, of course, art, math. Forget it. Did you do well in math in college?
Theory, but not practically.
Theory?
Yeah.
What's the theory part?
When you explain what's happening and where the mathematician is going, I can understand that part of it. But I have dyslexia, so that I get everything sometimes
you got
turned
to move it
around.
backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember doing up until my sophomore year in high school, but algebra. There was algebra, and there was what did they call it? Computation, just adding the columns. That was the easy part.
Arithmetic.
Just a general arithmetic. As soon as they started heading into trig, I was a done soul.
Yeah, I would say I'm
Done.
the same way.
Trig was not good. So we're talking with Keith Carreiro, and he's an author, he's a writer, speaker, he's a teacher, professor at the Bridgewater State University, and he has written 2 books so far in the series, sci-fi fantasy, with 9 they're going to be in this series. God bless you.
That's
The
the goal.
Penitent Part 1, The Penitent Part 2. And you think that the next cover will be a little different, do you think? I
Yeah,
like this.
yeah. I'm not sure, but I'm open to it. I'd like to see what Hollis has in mind. But there's at the Rhode Island Comic Con, there was an artist there who blew me away, Steve Nigerian, and he works in oils, and he had dragons and
Yeah.
pictures of the Tolkien would have loved.
You would love that probably on the cover.
Yeah, so for the next 3 books, I'm thinking of using him, but he's expensive.
But I like the idea that you've got all the dark around and then the light.
Right.
If he could stick to that too, because it looks like it fits in with your series.
Correct.
I love that.
Yeah. Can the camera go up on that?
Yeah, go ahead, Paul. Can you just one last time get the way that
So if you look up at this title here, you can see that there's some symbols going on here. This is a sword, also a Christian cross, and over here is the Egyptian Ankh,
Yeah.
which means immortality.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you get two ideologies.
Let's see.
I want to thank you for having me. By the
Thank
way.
you for being on. This is I don't think I've ever seen a sci-fi book quite like this. This is pretty amazing. Let us know when the next one comes on. You're going to let us know, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We'll drag you out of there from Swansea and get you up here.
Okay.
We'll see you next time. Would be my guess.
Bye bye.